In a couple of weeks, the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration would have got 1 year in government. Now, some of the changes which we have seen and are drastic include the floating of the naira and also removal of fuel subsidy. Interestingly, a couple of days ago, there were some articles about Nigeria's richest billionaire, Dangote, stating that the devaluing or the floating of the naira from 460 to 14 led us into a huge mess because we've seen inflation rise. We've seen the fluctuation of the dollar to naira. Just this week, when we thought the dollar to naira exchange rate was getting better, it's gone back up to about 1,360 naira in the parallel market. And the CBN is constantly saying it's crypto, it's fintechs, it's different people. We need to understand what's going on and we need to trace this to the root. But we'll be talking about that. Also, fuel queues and scarcity is back. It's easing up a little bit in Abuja, but we shouldn't be having these issues in 2024. What's happening with the Dangote refinery? What's happening with the Port Harcourt refinery? Because every other day we get some news reports saying the Port Harcourt refinery is meant to start the Kaduna. What exactly is going on? And what's the overall outlook on the economy with all of this? And we'll be having a quick conversation with our guests joining us virtually. Joining us, we have
Comrade Chimizi Chukwukere, who is a public administrative expert and specialist. We also have Dr. Toby Oluwatola, who is the founder, CEO, Tower Energy. And finally, Mayowa Tijani, who is an independent editor for The Cable. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Mayowa, we'll start with you because you've always given us, unofficially our economic analyst on this show. You spoke to us before the elections, you spoke to us before the inauguration, and now, about a year later, fuel subsidies have been removed, the dollar to naira. What's your analysis of the economic outlook in the last 11 months of this administration?
Thank you again for having me. I would say that so far, the problem I think that we're still having is that we are delaying the pain. I was just randomly before this show, I was going through my timeline and I was seeing how long ago it's been that I've been sort of ranting about removing fuel subsidies and all that. The government, this administration came on board with the promise that we are going to push the hard policies, we are going to take the bitter pill so that we can recover in the long run and all that. And personally, I supported some of those issues. Now, the major one was, okay, we are going to remove FX subsidy and fuel subsidies. And of course, it was distorting the economy whether we like it or not. And the removal was sort of done in June 2023. Now, some months down the line, almost 10 months down the line now, we see that the fuel queues are returning. And this is something I had anticipated because I had seen when the new prices for petrol was fixed, it was based on petrol, 1 barrel of petrol one barrel of oil at $80 per barrel, and it was also based on $1 at 760 naira. Now, since then, $1 has gone as high as you mentioned this morning, 1,360, and 1 barrel of petrol has gone as high as $90 during the Iran-Israel situation, though now it's about $84. So basically, with those changes in the variables that feed into what the prices should be, then we should be in a situation where those prices should have changed. So not changing them means that we are back to paying some sort of subsidy that the government does not want to admit to the people that it's paying. But of course, because of those difficulties, we are seeing the problems get back to us and we're having to face fuel queues around the country. So I think if we want to take the bitter pill, we should take it. If we don't want to take the bitter pill, no need tasting that pill at all.
Do you think this subsidy removal for Asian, of which I read recently that independent marketers are saying the government owes them 200 billion naira, but we'll come to that. But Mayowa, just so you can wrap this up, the dollar to naira exchange rate, do you feel the fuel and the global issues are contributing to this, or is this a Nigerian problem?
Yes, the oil situation is contributing to it, no doubt, because much of the effects that we get as a country comes from oil prices. Now, if we are getting those effects from selling oil, crude oil to the rest of the world, and then using that same money to go buy refined petrol from the rest of the world still, then it's going to put some weight on our currency. So yes, that's contributing to it. The global issues, for example, the strong US dollar would always contribute to it because, of course, it's naira versus dollar in this kind of situation, and this is not just affecting Nigeria; it's affecting the Japanese economy, the Chinese economy, and all of that. But the reality is that a lot of those other economies are more resilient to these global fluctuations than a country like Nigeria, where almost 90% of our FX earnings comes from a single product. So I feel that these are the issues that are affecting the naira.
Thank you, Maiwa.
Okay, Toby, how severe would you say Nigeria's current economic downturn is concerning the dollar rates, the fuel scarcity, and all of that?
Just to be sure you're not muted, Toby, do you want to unmute yourself?
Sure, thank you. Sorry about that.
Great, we can hear you.
First of all, thank you for having me, and Eddie and Andy, thanks for the great work you do hosting the show and informing Nigerians. I think to answer your question directly, Nigerians are facing a very tough time, and I think whereas I do agree with Mayowa very strongly that whoever came into office in May of last year was bound to fall on his sword a little bit with three big issues. The first one being floating the naira, the second one being the fuel subsidy, and the third one being the electricity subsidy. So that pain was bound to happen. And we were coming from a regime where we had spent a lot more than our means. Very aptly, we spent a lot into the ways and means provisions that we shouldn't have done, and several other inflationary decisions that were taken in the previous administration that came home to roost. So whoever came into office would have faced a really hard time. I think what Nigerians cannot and perhaps should not accept is an environment where we are being asked consistently to take the bitter pill and to make a sacrifice. And I'm very grateful to the president for the courage he's shown to take some of these tough decisions. But it doesn't seem that the administration has been just as quick to take equally tough decisions on government spending and on government prioritization on really solving the problems that matter. And really solving those foundational problems that are at the core of this. So yes, we need to float the naira. Yes, we need to raise the electricity tariffs. But we've raised electricity tariffs. Have we done the hard work of fixing the electricity grid? Today, the electricity grid of Nigeria cannot take intermittent power. It will shut down. We had 13 shutdowns last year. The grid cannot take solar. So we've got 14 IPPs, many of them individual developers that spent upwards of $4 million to get the project prepared. They cannot build the project and sell the electricity even after they sign tariffs. They sign PPAs with Nigeria's government. They cannot build those projects because no one will finance it, because the power cannot be put on the grid. It will break down. And we can fix the grid. We can make the investment to fix the grid, but it's a hard problem. It's not an easy problem like giving a $13 billion contract to someone whose only credibility is as the, President Confidante. And we're pushing through heaven and hell to make sure that project works. When Nigerians see that type of signaling, it doesn't tell us that the administration is as willing to take the tough decisions when it comes to doing the hard problems that only government can fix, whereas it's willing to, throw a bone without any due process to its cronies. So I think these are the challenges that we face, and the same thing applies to if we go talk about NNPC. Today, we say NNPC is a private company, but it's still not producing at its capacity. The company is full of fat. It's a company that is so completely inefficient that have we made the tough decisions to make that company more productive? Have we made the decisions? Have we decided that, okay, we want to make this company truly public? Let's figure out how we can take it to the public. We can float it on a serious exchange and make the hard decisions that need to be made, that private sector will insist need to be made to make the company fit to go public. And when the company goes public, the company can then bring in more returns to the country in dividends, just like organizations like Saudi Aramco do, or even in Norway and every other country that produces oil, bring in more returns so that we can solve this balance of payments issue. Because if we say that the Naira, we had, a bit of a empiric relief when in the run-up to the World Bank spring meetings, that the dollar suddenly Naira started doing better against the dollar, and we started celebrating that, foreign remittances are coming, FDI is coming. I talk to investors all the time. I don't see many investors who are yet excited about coming to Nigeria. So because the operating environment is not yet conducive. Farmers cannot go to their farms up north because everybody is afraid of getting kidnapped. So unless we solve these very serious issues, production issues, right now, Nigeria is short about 7 million metric tons in its maize production. And I could go on and on in every part of the value chain. We have a productivity problem, and we are not making the tough decisions to solve those productivity problems. And then we impose a lot of demand on the people to make sacrifices. And so at some point, people are going to get tired of making sacrifices, and they're going to take to the streets.
Toby, thank you so much for your insights. You've listed the problems, you've listed solutions, you've given us case studies and alternatives to copy from. We'll definitely bring you on a later date to review this conversation. But Mayowa, before we let you go, real quick, the CBN has been pumping in money into the economy, dollars, to BDCs, and they will tell you it's not as significant as the $2 billion that's reduced from the reserves, but we can tell that over $100 million has been pushed in. Does this help the Nigerian economy, and is this something that the global economy will be comfortable with? Because this must have an effect on the dollar value even within the US, if this is what we're doing to stabilize our Naira. In 1 minute.
Yeah, so the reality is that somebody has to pay for what the CBN is doing. Right now, I think is the CBN paying for it. The last time I checked, I think it was about $15 million that they have to give out to BDCs every week. And, the CBN governor says that's tiny. And of course, maybe it might be tiny if you're looking at it in the grand scale of the 30-something billion dollars that we have. But when you look at it over a period of a year, if you're doing $15 billion 52 times in a year, that's going to add up to a couple of billions of dollars. So while the movement in the reserves might not necessarily be as a result of the $15 million that you're giving out every week, the movements that we see are some of the metrics that we can use to measure what exactly is happening within our inflow and outflow. And as it sees today, Nigerians are happy that, yes, the Naira has come down from like the artificial 1,800, it went to like 1,312,11 at some point. But the reality is that is artificial. The more we keep doing this, we are not dealing with what the actual problem with our currency is. And some way, somehow, we are still going to have to face the problems sometime in the future.
Thank you very much, Maiwa and Toby. We'll definitely bring you on in about 2 weeks to have a review of all of this. Thanks for your constant contribution, Maiwa. And Toby, we do hope to get you back on the weekend show.
Thanks, Eddie.
Welcome. That's the much. That's fine. That's the much we can take on the political segment. We'll be crossing over to Zainab for the climate chat. Hello, Zainab. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi.
It's raining now, so we've gone from complaining about the heat to the rains, but it's still very unpredictable.
Yeah.
But that's your department. That's all. You please take it away.